Classic Electric is a licensed and insured electrical contractor. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and Happy New Year. So I am here today installing a new 60 amp circuit for an electric vehicle charger. It's an Autel electric vehicle charger. Some of those specs and a link on Amazon I'll leave in the description. But this particular customer actually found me here on YouTube, so shout out to Paul. Thank you. I hope I have exceeded your expectations on this installation. And pending a final inspection, we'll be good to go. So this was a pretty simple install, being that the panel and the electric vehicle charger were about approximately 40 feet from each other.
Here, we just got to drill another hole.
So what I'm doing up here is obviously drilling a hole down to fit the new 6'2" cable that I plan on pushing down into the panel. You always want to be super careful when you're drilling a hole around this many cables above where the panel is. These are the home runs going down into the panel. So I was actually able to look up inside that cavity because it didn't have any insulation before I drilled that hole, so I knew I was in a safe spot before I drilled. The next step is I wanted to make a hole for where the PVC that's going to protect this cable is going to go up through the ceiling, and that's what you just saw. And then I'm going to walk out my 6'2" Romex wire here so that while I'm pulling it, it won't get kinked. Meanwhile, after I do all that, I take these fish sticks and I go from the attic and push it down through this hole that I made before attaching the Romex cable to the fish stick with vinyl electrical tape. And then what I'll do is I'll start this run by pushing the rest of this cable up through the hole and go up to the attic and pull the other end over to the panel, and so that there's enough slack on the wire to reach the panel. What I like to say is better to be a mile too long than an inch too short, but not 2 miles, because copper is expensive. So don't waste the copper if you don't need to. So once I push this through, I'm going to go up into the attic and retrieve the fish and start pushing it down to the panel. So even though it was cold on this day, I'd much rather be working up in this attic on a cold day than on a hot day. This would really be a lot of work and would definitely tax your day as far as the energy output you might have doing this work. This attic was relatively clean and easy to work in, and I was grateful for that.
Yeah, you see, I definitely wanted to be just long enough. As you can see, plenty long. Good.
There are now tools specifically made to remove the sheeting from this cable assembly here, but I have always used a utility knife. This is a Milwaukee Fastback, which I really like. And if you on a 2-wire cable, if you strip right down the middle, you'll be where the ground is, as long as you don't want to pierce it and damage any insulation. But if you go right down the middle of the cable, you should have no worries about damaging the insulation on the conductors. So one of the rules in the NEC, so we cannot use a white cable conductor here, or part of assembly, as a ungrounded hot conductor, so we have to re-identify it, and that's what I'm doing with the red tape here. So the code says you have to identify this conductor. Some guys put, 2 pieces of red tape and call it a day. I like to make sure that you know that this is not a grounded neutral. This is actually an ungrounded hot conductor, and that's why I go the extra length to completely encase the insulation and make it red. Now, I know there's 2 ways, obviously, to attach your branch circuit conductors to the circuit breaker. Some people like to have the circuit breaker on the bus bar before making their terminations. But with these larger conductors, sometimes I feel it's easier to make my terminations in the free air and then attach the circuit breaker, but I've also done it the other way. And in my next video, the circuit breaker might be attached to the bus bar, and then I attach the conductors. But here on this day, I felt like attaching the conductors first and then setting the breaker in place. You gotta be very careful doing this. Obviously, when you're putting this circuit breaker onto the bus bar, if you were to slip and touch that bus bar, you'd be hit with live electricity, and you're standing on the ground here, and the possibility of death is definitely present if you're not super careful here putting the circuit breaker in. So if you plan on doing this, use caution, or you can always turn off that main breaker if you decide to. And so now that I'm done doing all the wiring inside the panel, I'm going to put this already cut out piece of sheetrock back as I found it, and button up the panel, label the circuits, and get ready to prep for the PVC that's going to protect the cable going out to the electric vehicle charger. If you like this video, guys, now's a good time to hit that like button. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe, and I appreciate it. Thank you. You guys have seen me using this heater before. I absolutely love this thing, especially on a cold day. It was nice and warm. But the key to using this thing is to get it just hot before you put the pipe in there, or rather the conduit in there. And what I'm trying to do here is just make a slight offset so I can secure this conduit to the wall, and then it's going to go up to that hole that I drilled out earlier. And its only purpose is to protect the 6'2" cable from damage here in the garage. This is the Autel electric vehicle charger. I've never installed one of these until this job here. And I gotta say, it's kind of a pain in the neck to take off all these little screws on this faceplate here to gain access to where we're gonna do the hard wiring. They're actually T10 torque screws, and it comes with the tool for the from the manufacturer. But still, I thought it was kind of a pain in the neck to take out all the screws and then put it back when I was done. But got to prep it here in the garage. And as you can see, I got that nice Klein Tools kneeling pad, which is definitely nice on the knees. Definitely helps on the knees. And so once I get the prep done for this charger, I'm able to then go outside and figure out how I'm going to bring my wiring in, either through the back or into the bottom. And I prefer the bottom. It's a little less intrusive to getting water in the panel. I've gone into the back of these before, different chargers, the charge point for instance. But if I can come into the bottom, I've just decided that it's probably a better install, less of a chance for the water to come into the panel or in through that conduit there, the opening in the house. So that's why I chose on this particular job, you'll see in a minute, that I did an LB outside and then up into the bottom of this charger. So here what I want to do is there's actually a mounting plate that attaches to the sheathing, and then the electric vehicle charger here attaches to that mounting plate. So I just want to get a mark on where that center is, because where that LB is a little bit off center, and I want to make sure that everything's nice and straight and done correctly the first time here. Struggled a little bit with this with the conduit. Originally I was just going to have the Romex cable just come right through without cable between the two LBs on the inside of the house and the outside of the house to sleeve the wire through. But eventually I ripped the sheathing and it got damaged, so I had to run a short piece of PVC between the inside LB and the outside LB, and as you'll see, everything turned out just right. What I'm doing here is I'm extending this plumb line with my level because there's two holes in the mounting plate and I want to make sure they're straight. So I draw a plumb line, and then the bracket here that the EV charger attaches to, I'll mount that first and just where I want to put it and make sure that it's straight so I don't make unnecessary holes in the siding here, and then we'll be ready to go. So I'm going to mark them and then drill them out and mount the bracket. On the bottom of this bracket, there's actually a set screw that attaches it and locks it in place. And what I wound up doing was driving the bottom screw into the sheathing that mounts this bracket a little too far, and so I wasn't able to attach this set screw until I take it back off and then back off the bottom screw from the sheathing a little bit, so I'm able to get the set screw in place and lock the electric vehicle and charger in place. So there's a little learning curve there, no big deal. I won't have this problem again doing this particular brand charger, but just thought I'd include that here in my video so you would see that sometimes the struggles are real, and no matter how much experience you have, sometimes you run into something that's gonna get in your way and you're gonna have to redo something. That's just the way it is. But if you want to do the job right, you'll take these steps and do it right the first time so you don't get any callbacks and you pass your inspections, and everything's clean from that point going forward. So that's exactly what I did here. The set screw here is actually, I think, either a T30 or a T25. I think it's a T30. And that particular Torx tool also comes with this Autel EV charger kit. So don't lose that if you don't have these particular tools. Since I did tell you that I had a problem with the sheathing of the Romex cable I ran over here, what I wound up doing is this piece of PVC that's actually sticking out right here is attached to the LB on the other side. And what I'm doing here is just getting a dry fit so this LB can fit on there, and then there's going to be a short piece with a female adapter going up into the charger here. I just want to get a dry fit before I come back and glue everything. It's always good to have a towel on hand just to clean up some of this excess glue that comes out when you put the fitting on the glue. So that's what I'm doing here, is just trying to clean up that excess glue, let it set, and then we'll be able to pull the cable through and finish up here. I'm using exterior rated duct seal here to plug this gap between the outside of the house and the inside of the house, where cold air can meet the warm air and form condensation within the conduit. Okay, so as you can see here on the left side, inside this EV charger are the line side terminals from the circuit breaker, and I've just terminated the equipment grounding conductor in the correct lug, and now I'm gonna connect both of my ungrounded conductors the same way. On the right side there, you'll see the same set of conductors, your equipment ground, 2 hots. That's the flexible cord that attaches to the electric vehicle for charging. And I apologize for getting my big fat head in the way here. But as you'll see as we go on, I move off to the right like that, and so you're able to see. I'm pretty sure I got my GoPro just attached to my ladder right here, and I was hoping this would be a pretty decent shot, but obviously my big fat head's in the way. But if you enjoy this video, do me a favor, hit that like button if you're still watching after all this time. We're 20 minutes into this video, so thank you. I appreciate you watching this video to the end. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. Thank you. And so in order to make this installation a little bit simpler, I'm able to disconnect some of the electronic parts inside this charger here, so I can work without this thing flapping in the breeze right above me. And as you can see, once you turn it around, you come back with those T10 Torx screws and attach this faceplate, and then the final finish plate on top of that. This finish trim sits on top where it clicks in, and then on the bottom there's 2 or 3 set screws, I forget, I think there's 2 set screws that physically attach it to the charger assembly itself. So Okay, so at this point we're ready to go, and I'm trying to figure out how this cable sits on the charger. How it comes pre-rolled like that out of the box. I usually leave that up to the customer to do what they want to do with that, if they want to put a hook. But I believe that this Autel is actually designed to wrap around the charger itself, which is good. ChargePoint does the same thing. This is it. The breaker's on, and this is the end of the video. So thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.